of our initiative today with a focus of clean core and the main focus on the integration dimension, but also Bertrand will talk a little bit about the other dimension. I have seen already your slides, Bertrand. My name is Florian. I'm the host of the session, and behind the scenes there are some more experts. So if you have questions, feel free to use the QA chat functionality. And in the end, we're also going to open, let's say, the channel. So you also have the chance to ask your question, but also feel free to just type in your questions. So a mix of everything is possible. One highlight again, please do not use any AI bots. Last time we had a problem that somebody has started an AI bot. Please do not start any AI bots. I'm going to kick them out anyway. Recording has started, and like the last time, we are going to send out the recording as well as the questions and the more or less the answered questions, and expect the recording either by end of this week then or by beginning of next week. Before I'm handing over to Bertrand, maybe again set the scene why we're doing it. Some of you are maybe new in this round, and the idea is quite simple. More or less, again, this is us on the right-hand side. At least two of us are in this call right now, not everybody. We are the German part of the German consulting team. Our focus, as you can imagine, is mainly integration development, integration architecture, integration DevOps, everything around integration, more or less. The purpose of our community, and feel free to scan it also there, is basically 2 or 3 topics. The one is early insights into technology updates, especially the latest products we shipped, maybe also kind of new to you. In the cloud, we're shipping on a monthly basis. It's hard to stay always up to date, and we try to give our best in order to keep you up to date. So overall early insight. And another purpose of this community and the newsletter we are publishing is for sure that we would like to support you on your project base. So independent if you're starting an S/4HANA RISE project, which today is a good fit with a clean core, by the way, or if you're starting an Edge integration setup project, you should find in our community more or less the latest and greatest information to get started with your project. Yes, this is the second expert session. I'm not sure if you visited us and joined us 2 or 3 weeks ago with a focus on API management. Today we have a topic about clean core, integration dimension. But as you already can see, usually we try to cover all the areas. Be it products insights like API management, Edge integration cell in summertimes with SUSE and with Red Hat, or advanced event mesh. Be it, let's say, more conceptual topics like the pipeline concept with Arnold Bundschuh, or the integrated toolchain combining LeanIX and Signavio, or be it DevOps topics then with FIGAF or Infor. We try to cover all dimensions. Basic idea, 2 to 3 sessions per month. Sometimes we stick to it, sometimes not. It depends a little bit, as you can imagine. Feel free also to scan here, and you will immediately redirect it to the event page. And if you miss a very important topic or something which is critical, feel also free to ping us a mail. Often you on the consult or partner or customer side, you face similar questions or challenges. Maybe we also can schedule something in between, but we cannot promise it. One session will be already postponed, the one for integrated toolchain interface management. It's quite simple. The demo we have built is cool, but it could be even cooler. So right now, the demo we have built is API-driven. We're exchanging applications, interfaces on the API approach, and also would like to show you the event-driven approach, which take us in some more weeks. So expect this session maybe around July as well. But you will be informed via mail. Last but not least, before I'm really handing over to you, Bertrand, also join us on site. So we still have seats open for Berlin and Prague in June, both. In June. In Berlin, it's a full-day workshop covering all the topics, 8 hours with lunch and breakfast, etc. pp. In Prague, our team is just one team member of the customer success days. So in Prague, we only have 3 to 4 hours, yeah, but also here we will cover most of these things. Then Munich and Zurich will follow. Also there are some seats open, but I guess almost full. I'm not sure. I haven't checked the registration list this morning. Just feel free to join us. And I already can tell you, I'm not sure where you are located in Q3 and Q4. We continue our planning. Mainly this year we stay in Europe, but we're also already talking to our colleagues in Africa and Asia and also in Australia and Canada. So if you're joining globally around the globe, be prepared that we might also visit your country. With that, Bertrand, Clean Core, what can you tell us about it?
Sorry, I need to find the unmute button. Thank you very much, Florian. And now you should also see the right screen. Actually, I can tell a lot about integration and Clean Core, as you might know. And yeah, today's topic, I will deep dive into what does also Clean Core mean in the context of integration modernization? Why does it support the integration modernization aspect? Secondly, then I would also jump into the topic of what is Clean Core. So as Florian mentioned, Clean Core is covering the 5 dimensions. We will have a deep dive into the integration dimension, and here then also deep dive into how to get a Clean Core. So especially what are do's, what are don'ts, what are governance topics that you should do, and then latest. I have also some context, as Florian also mentioned in the introduction, RISE with SAP methodology. So I put it into this context of RISE to get you some insights about here. I have also 2 demos during the presentation, so I will switch between the PowerPoint slides and some demos. My name is Bertrand Henkel. I'm also a senior technology consultant working in the same team as Florian and the colleagues in the chat. Yes, and I'm also leading the Clean Core initiative internally, and this is why I probably can be one of the experts here and present you the topic also. Here I'm also happy to get some insights from you. So whenever you have a question, happy to get in touch with you during the call. You can use the chat functionality, but then also later on you can ping us a mail or whatsoever. We are also happy to get you on board of the Clean Core. In general, so why are we having the Clean Core discussion with our customers? So in the end, it's all about efficiency, agility, and also reducing costs and be more productive in total. And this is, and therefore we have defined within the Clean Core some measurement criteria that indicates, okay, what brings you to this agility, to this flexibility, and what does it mean to be then really also upgrade stability. So this is one major point, to be upgrade stability, and therefore we focus obviously on the SAP managed content, which means not only on the integration suite side, but also for the other dimensions or for the other topics. SAP managed content is obviously a value driver, because it will then lower the costs of operational and development for new integration requirements or for existing topics. Also, if you're using standard content, you're more likely to be to improve the adoption of future innovations. For example, if you're using the event-driven architecture, you're more likely to be able to onboard new integration systems or new systems within your integration landscape, and therefore will also within the enterprise itself or within the organization itself, you will improve the agility. But also from the SAP managed standpoint, you would also use the the feature that are available within SAP or within our functions and within our products, you're more likely to get the adoption quite faster. As mentioned, agility is one major aspect also of the clean core, especially when it comes to the integration area, where we say with the fast-paced evolving technology within integration, API management, the event-driven architecture, etc. And with the current challenges, geopolitical or even the challenges within an enterprise, we see that the integration landscape is key to deliver the business processes, and therefore it is also important to be agile, to react to integration requirements quickly or to challenges quite quickly, and therefore Clean Core will also support this. Another topic is also that it will enable also the standard processes. So obviously the integration layer supports the work or the process of the realization of the business process. And therefore we also aim for standard process and standard content. And then also coming to the operational risk, using SAP managed content, you can make sure, or it is easier to maintain the content and reduce the operational risk because it is maintained and managed by SAP. It will, as mentioned, lower the development costs. Also in the fact that if you have a strong governance, use the reuse and reuse content that is already existing due to the modern integration topics that we are using or placing here in the Clean Core, you are more likely to increase the decision-making process, which means that you have predefined criteria because you're using a framework, for example. You have already built some content that you might be able to reuse, and therefore the decision-making process might also improve. And last but not least, the assurance for security and compliance topics with the current standards. So we have the industry knowledge, the industry experience. We build our integration and integrations based on the industry best practices, and therefore we can also assure the security and compliance topics within these areas. And this is all putting together indicates why also the Clean Core is moving into this integration modernization topic. In the end, a Clean Core is also something where we can measure or we can define on how you get to an integration modernization initiative. But what is a Clean Core? And this is a question that has been raised quite several times from customers. It is flowing around through since 6, 7, 8 years something, and it all started with the extensibility topic. But looking now on the aspect, we as SAP have defined 5 guiding principles where we say business processes is the leading principle, although all the dimensions are weighing the same. But the business processes, as mentioned also in my introduction, is leading the extensibility topic, the data topic, the integration topic, and obviously also the operational topic. And from the bottom up, the operational part is covering all the other dimensions as well. So without any lifecycle management, you would not really be successful in all the other dimensions: integration, data, extensibility, business processes. This is why business processes on the top. Who is defining extensibilities drives the data integration or data topic, and also drives the integration. With business processes, we obviously refer to our reference architectures, to our end-to-end standard business processes that are available on this in Signavio, for example. On extensibility, this is all about the upgrade stability topic and implementing extensibility side by side or in-app extensibility by only using a clean development approach. Data is more in the area of AI, obviously one of or getting more and more important in the context of AI and the business data cloud, for example, where you need to have a good data governance, where obviously also the data quality needs to be quite high, but especially also the semantic of the data needs to be assured within that. Then integration, and we'll skip that a little bit because we will deep dive this later on, but obviously, yeah, we need to have like this reliable, flexible integration because business processes might change quickly. We will have the extensibility using integration aspects. So here we need to react and be flexible, but also be reliable so that business processes run end-to-end seamlessly. And last but not least, as mentioned, yeah, the overall lifecycle management of the backend, for example, if you're having version upgrades, etc., on a regular basis in order to be effective and efficient, but also all the operational part that also covers within the integration, meaning for example, the monitoring aspects and the maintenance and operating and integration. So those are the 5 guiding principles that you will now always see when it comes to a clean core. And especially today, we will focus on the integration aspect. And here on the left side, you see now the main aspects. And within SAP and within the RISE with SAP dashboard that I will show later on, we will have defined KPIs, but not only the KPIs, because the KPIs which you can see here now on the left side, those are performance data, or those are KPIs that we can extract from the system, from the source, from the backend, so to say. However, we also need to make sure that your organization is also in a governance and an operational part mature in order to reflect the KPIs, which means a clean core or getting to a clean core is a transformation journey. And without a strong guidance and without a strong governance, or without having an integration strategy defined, for example, or having an ISAM framework within the organization, it is likely that you will not improve or increase the scores for your technical KPIs, meaning the main aspect here on the left side. So here the left side, you can see the technical topics that we can extract from the system, which means obviously the stable upgradability topic. Here we are focusing on clean APIs, so-called clean APIs. Everything, like in short, everything that is on the Business Accelerator Hub, where you can find all the APIs. This is the cleanest way of using APIs, or the cleanest usage of technology, which means all data, web services, and events. Those are the APIs that we want to see. However, we are aware of the fact that our C calls, BAPI calls, and IDOCs are state-of-the-art since quite a while already within SAP legacy systems and within SAP environments. And therefore, we don't say don't use RFCs or don't use IDOCs anymore. However, we say avoid to use traditional APIs. Try to, or whenever there is an alternative available, and I have an example later on as well, whenever there is an example available, try to aim for standard API like OData, web service, or an event-driven architecture. For the innovation adoption part, so here this also comes into the picture of integration modernization, obviously. So here we're also trying to push into using the integration suite. So PMAS, or the integration migration, I think that is also an expert session planned, where then also the move from PIPO to the integration suite is an important aspect. And within the clean core, we also say, obviously, SAP Integration Suite is the tool to be used to integrate your systems to the S4 backend system, and especially also when leveraging the extensibility, side-by-side extensibility by using released APIs, use the Integration Suite. And also event-driven architecture, which will then also be a modern integration technology. This is also a topic, oops, sorry. Also an integration topic, modernization topic that will be covered in one of the next sessions. Event-driven architecture, within that you're agile, so all the value drivers that I had mentioned in the first slide is really also covering in here when you use the event-driven architecture. And last but not least, now this is also more reliable or more looking into that focusing on the governance aspect is the operational risk. So obviously the integration, with the integration you run your business processes. So it is important to assure that the integration is running up and running nearly without any flaws, without any disruptions or errors. So this is why the aspect of a clean core is also to reduce the operational risk by using a proper monitoring and error resolution capabilities. And herefore we have the tools, the AIF tool within the S4 or the Cloud ILM for end-to-end process or monitoring view for the integration suite, which enables you or the customers to set up alert notification. But then after the alert notification has been triggered, then obviously you also would need to have like a strong operational process, which means do you have error resolution process defined where you know what step needs to be done next, which means that do you have contact persons for each of your integration? Do you have known errors where probably you can identify errors categorized the error quite quickly? How do you approach an integration error? And within the ARF, for example, in the S4 side, you are also able to, if this is a master data issue, you are able to change the master data, for example, if this is the error, the source of the error. Secondly, also we are looking into the documentation. So the whole integration requirement, how has this been documented? And this now comes also to the point that I mentioned at the beginning, to be more or to be faster or more agile in the decision-making process. So if you have predefined processes on how you tackle integration requirements, how you keep and stay clean, get and stay clean, if you have defined criteria, if you have defined your integration strategy and you know how you can map to a technology, this is an important aspect in here, and then documentation is one of the main aspects for that as well. And obviously, yeah, only actively used, but that does make sense, and probably also will be part or is part of the extensibility in data. We don't want to use or activate other APIs that won't be used or is not in use anymore, because this is also another risk that data gets corrupted or that interfaces are triggered, although they should not be triggered anymore. Talking now, yeah, so we have probably understood what is a clean core. Now the big question is also, okay, how do you get or how can you get to a clean core? And herefore I also like this slide because it's also kind of a guiding principle approach for the integration, and also in general, basically. So we say instead, like I will go into details later on, but also having that in mind always throughout the process. Obviously, stay as close to the standard where possible. Avoid extensions where it is not necessary. As mentioned, in some cases it does make sense to use an IDOC, but in some cases it probably is the alternative, which would be then a no data web service, fits better or is equal to an IDOC. In that case, yeah, why don't you go with the web service or OData? So avoid unnecessary extensions or try to use standard APIs. However, we are also aware of the fact that in some cases it does not make sense to move from an IDOC to a web service, for example. And in that case, another governance aspect comes into place, knowing or be aware of the technical depths that you have developed or integrated in your system. So being aware of here, you have some action items within the next 1 or 2 years. So therefore, you also need a strong governance that is really binding. You have regular checkups on your as-is landscape, where you identify your problems. You are always aware of what needs to be done in order to improve your clean core. So be aware of your technical depth is another point that I like to mention in here. Then obviously the cloud readiness or the upgrade stability topic, one of the major point with the OData, with the released API, SAP can assure that those APIs will also remain in the future, whereas deprecated APIs, you know it, they might be shut down at some point and might not assured for the future, and therefore, yeah, try to aim for cloud or upgrade stable content. And decoupling in order to be able to be flexible and agile, to integrate in real time, and also to be able to decouple the core from your extensibility part. So whenever there's an extensibility, build it on the extensibility side by side, and then use the integration suite to integrate with standard APIs and event. In general, achieving a clean integration, we as SAP have defined 3 rules. Rule number 1 is to establish a clearly defined integration strategy. And for example, by using the integration solution advisory methodology framework, it's just a framework, so it can be adjusted for each organization or customer. So establishing a clear integration strategy is rule number 1. Rule number 2 is then having understood the as-is analysis, or having a clear picture of the as-is integration landscape. So defining a get clean process. What does it need? What does it need in order to get clean? So what are the migration efforts, etc. And the third rule, to establish for all the new integration requirements, establish a continuous keep clean process in order to improve the existing integration requirements or integration landscape, but also and especially for all the new integration requirements, to build it according to the new guidelines and to the clean core guidelines. So jumping into the details about the integration solution advisory, or the rule number 1, establishing an integration strategy. And therefore, we are placing the integration solution advisory methodology in order to or it's a framework that enables you as an organization or a customer to assess your integration strategy, to have a framework, a methodology defined that helps you identifying your best fit for a technology. So first, you assess your integration strategy. So you identify your integration domains and your integration styles. So are you cloud to cloud? Are you cloud to on-premise, on-premise to on-premise? And then secondly, are you using process integration? Are you using data integration, etc.? So that is the first task, basically, to identify the integration strategy. Secondly, designing your hybrid integration platform. So hybrid means third-party systems with SAP systems, and to combine all these integration platforms in order to meet the integration strategy, in order to meet the integration styles that you have defined. So here you define your technology mappings, so when to use which integration, and it is vendor agnostic. So here you can also use third-party tools and as a best fit for technology, not only SAP products. And last but not least, and also defining the integration best practices. So defining an architecture blueprint. So once you have then your technology mappings, for example, for an EDA, event-driven architecture, you would now define the architectural blueprint, a general architectural blueprint that indicates how you would integrate with the event-driven architecture. And here within that, you would also define do's and don'ts. So how you would implement and what are the best practices. And herefore, we also leveraging integration suite, for example, where we say, okay, here you have standard content available, but also design guidelines available from SAP. Naming conventions would also be one part of that. And last but not least, the enable a practice of empowerment. So each integration governance or each governance within an enterprise or organization is nothing that it's not worth if it is not really lived or if there is no empowerment within the organization. So if it is not really used, then it doesn't make sense to have the strongest governance in place. So here we really enforce to set up a governance team, like a governance board, for example, where we say, okay, there is always a group of integration experts, for example, the CIO, lower than to the integration architect or enterprise architect and integration architects, who will always define on the same criteria that we have defined in the last steps here, which will always define or answer the criteria or the questions for integration requirements the same way they did for other integrations. So this will then increase the agility to decide, but also the consistency on how you would integrate a content. So therefore, the governance aspect is quite important. But not only living the governance, but also the operational part in here. So operating the integration as mentioned by using integration or by using alert notification topics, etc. Secondly, the get clean process. Here it is important to have a as-is analysis. For example, to set up an integration repository where you have where you have your integration repository or as-is integration landscape, current integration landscape defined, and on the other hand, your target integration landscape. So where do you see your company for the next 5 years or 10 years? And then identifying, what are the needs to come or to reach that target architecture. And I have an example here for with the IDOC usage. So the first thing is, okay, the IDOC, as we have heard now, is something that we should avoid in the clean core context. How can we improve the usage of this IDOC? So the first question is, okay, what is the business requirement behind it? Does it still make sense to integrate? Is it still integration requirement from the business process, how it is designed now? What are the boundaries of the integration-based scenario? So can we probably replace it by using another integration approach? So that is some initial questions that we should ask ourselves, and then also identify the key aspects of this integration requirement. So what should be integrated? How should be integrated with asynchronous, synchronous? What are typical message volumes? Should it be real time, etc.? So those are questions that you should answer in the first step. Then secondly, trying to fit the API, for example, by leveraging the Business Accelerator Hub, and I will jump to the Business Accelerator Hub in a minute, to check on existing APIs or events, etc. And then, last but not least, okay, also to think of new technologies such as the advanced event mesh or also the alert notification within the AIF. Can we place it in here? Is it applicable for this new API? And then really the last point is then also, as mentioned, to have like a way or a balance between what are the benefits of replacing this IDOC by a standard or released API instead of keeping the IDOC. So what are benefits over the efforts to implement new API approach? And so here really having the assessment of the advantage of replacing the existing integration requirement. And now I would jump to the discovery center first. So within the integration discovery center, and if you search now for the integration aspect, for example, you would now see also all the services that are related to the integration, for example, the integration suite or the advanced event mesh topic. So you can click on that, you can have some deep dives into the services about the new technologies. You can have some missions where you can have some get started points, so how you start with the integration suite, also how you start with the integration assessment, etc. But last but not least, also some reference architectures, and this is quite interesting. So here you have some the reference architectures. For example, you can see here now the API managed integration, where we can see here the integration suite, the API management, and I know it's quite short, small probably. I can make it bigger, yeah. Here you have the API management and the cloud integration here, and now you can see you can connect to other sources, etc. So here are some reference architectures that you can find. But within each of the reference architectures, we will always find the reference to the Business Accelerator Hub. And the Business Accelerator Hub, as mentioned, is a source to really identify an API and a fit of an API. For example, or just in general, the Business Accelerator Hub provides you all the APIs for the different SAP systems that we have available, the public cloud, the private cloud, the BTP, or even also all the other cloud solutions, SuccessFactors, etc. And it also provides you predefined integration. So here under Discover Integrations, you are now able to, for example, search an integration for, let's say we want to have the public cloud integration with Ariba. And now you can directly find here 5 integration packages that are ready to use, that are configure only to integrate your business processes. So that here is where you can find the things on the Business Accelerator. Also business process blueprints, reference architectures aligned with the business processes, where then also can deep dive into the integration requirements. So coming from a business processes, going down to the system landscape and going further down into how you integrate each of those systems. You can deep dive here into each of our business processes. So this is also worthwhile checking. And the most important part from integration experts is probably here really the check on the APIs, on the events, on now also available on the on-stack extensibility topics such as CDS views or business object interfaces, etc. So here you can really find a bunch of information about all our APIs that are available. And if you don't find it, so I also coming back to our IDOC example. So if you're having your IDOC and you're missing some features on one of your web servers or one of the OData, there is here this feedback button where we would also request you to, if you're missing a feature, raise a request, for example, for the business technology platform here for the integration suite. You can always refer to this customer influence program, where you are able to create your own request if it is not yet available, or check on existing requests and vote for them in order to make it or in order to influence our roadmap for that part. And this will then also be reflected within the integration within the product roadmap. And also interesting is then the rule 3, basically to establish continuous the keep clean approach. And therefore I directly jump basically into the integration assessment app, another demo that I want to show you. So whenever you have now a new integration requirement, log in again.
Or maybe you zoom in once, please, like 120%, 100.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope that is better now. To see. So here again, this keep clean process is about how you assess new integration requirements or integration requirements in general. And as mentioned, define an integration governance, define criteria in order to be able to assess your integration requirement. And here we have the integration assessment app, which is one tool from SAP, which supports you in having a consistent decision-making process on which API, which technology should be used for your integration. You can configure, as mentioned, your own integration landscape, so your own landscape, also including third-party systems. So it's not only SAP-specific tools that you can onboard here, but especially also for other tools you can or applications, you can configure them here as well. And also, then when it comes to the integration assessment itself, defining your own decision criteria. So there are predefined questionnaires from SAP that I will go through, where we have some bunch of questions that we want to ask to that integration requirement, but it is configurable and so dependent on your requirement. So for example, you have now a business request and the business wants to have material master integration to another third-party tool. They mentioned they have some problems in the back-end system. They want to decouple the integration because due to high performance topics, etc., and capacity. And they also want to have a real-time integration set up, which already indicates where the direction is going. So the business starts this request and says, okay, we need a business or we need an integration requirement. It should be a material master integration from our S4 system to the third-party tool. It is within, and now you can define the business processes. In here, it is within the source to pay process, going further down into the material master integration. There is a planned go-live date on the 1st of April 2026. And the criticality is quite high because we need this data there. And now you can hear, or the business user or architect, enterprise architect can enter here this interface request and also attach other tools if needed, or URLs and documents. Now this is basically also the handover between the business and the integration experts or architect jumping into the interface requirement. So typically you start with some questions, and this tool helps you to answer these questions. So the first question is the integration use case pattern. What is the integration use case pattern? I mentioned, okay, we want to have a decoupled integration, we want to have real time. Okay, it kind of indicates an event-based integration. So I select the event-based integration. Then we need to identify within that integration, do we need some transformations? In that case, I say, yeah, okay, there might be a small transformation or a simple transformation needed, not a complex transformation, but still some transformation needs to be done. Obviously, yeah, we want to leverage standard content. So there's the next questions to leverage out of the box integration. And yes, we do want to leverage that. It is not within a B2B integration scenario. So here, now we say no. Then here in the integration content, you are already able to identify or to pick some specific APIs. Here, for example, I found a product API, OData API that is available on the Business Accelerator Hub, which might fit to the requirement. Then the connectivity, is it a technical connector such as a web service, OData or REST API, or is it a specific application connector? In that case, I say, okay, it's a simple REST API or whatsoever, so we're using a technical or technology connector. And then the next question is, yes, is there a conversion of protocols needed from the source to the target system, such as from an SOAP protocol to an OData? In that case, I say, yeah, we do have that requirement from the third-party system to transfer it into another protocol. Again, it's not within the trading part or B2P area. So here I say no, it's not. It's not mandatory, or we don't use it. Then another important part is the monitoring and operational topic. We want to have it both business users. They should be able to check on the master data if they are wrong or right. And also we want to have technical errors being forwarded. So here we say, okay, yes and yes for both. And now basically when you go through that questionnaire, and I did it quite fast now, but obviously you would need to deep dive into each of the dimension to talk to other people and to identify then the real integration requirement. But in the end, it helps you then here to identify a coverage of your capabilities and the technology mapping. So here we have identified as an integration use case, I've said, okay, event-driven architecture might be the one. So here we are covering it with the event mesh. So event mesh is covering the integration use case. However, it is not good in monitoring or in the transformation aspect, which was also needed. So here it is not covered in the event mesh. So here we would probably need another tool. And therefore, yeah, the integration suite, it is covering the connectivity part and the transformation part with the fully covered. However, yeah, the integration use case with event-driven architecture is not covered on the integration suite, but more on the event mesh. And last but not least, in order to be able to fulfill the requirements that we have defined or fully cover it, we say, okay, for monitoring and operational purposes, we would use the application interface framework in here. And this is then basically a documentation of your decision process. It helps to identify the technology quite quickly in a consistent way. And having also like the visibility for others. And last but not least, also in the keep clean process rule, the monitoring and alerting step. So as mentioned, we place the AIF as label pointer. Yeah. So we are placing the AIF due to the fact that it has quite some benefits. So it's a central tool in S4 that can be used for every technology that is used in the S4 for alerting possibilities. Keep in mind, only the monitoring is free of charge. The development on the AIF might require an additional license. So this is the disclaimer. The monitoring aspect, and this is what we're looking at here in the Clean Core area, is free of charge. And therefore we can also, or you can also use it without having another license. And really the benefit is using a central monitoring tool, being able to also onboard business users and having alert notification set up. On the integration suite side, we say, okay, the inbuilt monitoring capability is good for deep dive integration or checking, but we would also recommend you to use the Calm Cloud ALM to connect to the integration suite for an end-to-end monitoring, but also an alert notification possibility. Putting this into and looking at the time into the RISE with SAP methodology, we say, okay, we have now, or you have this methodology where we identify each of the phases: discover, prepare, explore, realize, deploy, and run. Clean Core, as mentioned, is a journey, and it doesn't come with a big bang. And therefore, it is always good to have some quality gates in between that indicates, are you moving into the right direction? However, the quality gates are connected to the project phase of RISE, but however, the KPIs for Clean Core are relevant within every phase, basically. So after a transformation phase, a project, you can still track your Clean Core or the KPIs of a clean core. But within RISE, we say, okay, SAP Activate is the methodology, and now we have this quality gates that are checking on clean core activities if you're going into the right direction of a clean core. And this will be supported with the RISE with SAP methodology dashboard, where you can now have in Calm a clear overview about your KPIs and see are your numbers going down? For example, here's the extensibility visualized. Are your numbers of classical ABAP coding declining? Is the non-clean development improving? Like meaning decreasing and increasing the numbers of clean implementation. So that will be visualized in Calm. So here you can have then deep dive also about into this performance KPIs that I have mentioned at the beginning. That will also come in for integration, where we will be then also able to extract the numbers of iDocs being used, OData, web service, custom interface, etc. And then your management or also the architecture can really have a deep dive into where we need to improve our integration approach. That was it from my side. It was quite a lot within the last 40-50 minutes. I hoped you liked it and you could earn some benefit or some ideas about the clean core. And yeah, thank you very much for your attendance or attention and any questions.